A live look at downtown Milwaukee. Milwaukee is just 1 hour south of Elkhart Lake, where the IndyCar racing all took place. Hello, everyone. Joe Sammiego here, along with Kobe Lambeth from the Podium Finish, and welcome to Grid Life Post Race. We had Formula One, IndyCar, doubleheader, NASCAR, all weekend long in Kentucky. Very exciting race. Please, for all our viewers out there, comment in the chat. Let us know what are your thoughts on the entire race weekend. Any questions you have, we love to hear from you.
Yeah, and Joe, we definitely have a lot to talk about from this race weekend, and we'll start off with the world of Formula One. However, first, I want to bring attention to a pair of first-time winners this weekend in Formula Two. Yesterday, Robert Schwartzman won the feature race in Austria, and it was such an emotional victory for the young man who dedicated his maiden Formula Two win to his father, who passed away a few months ago. And what a way for him to honor his father. And Robert Schwartzman is definitely going to have a bright future in racing wherever his career takes him. And today, Christian Lingard, the Renault Junior driver, claimed the sprint race. And both of these young men are going to do incredible things in the world of motorsports someday, whether it's in Formula One, IndyCar, sports cars, or wherever they decide to go. And now moving on to Formula One. Yeah, last weekend's Formula One race left everyone talking afterwards. Yeah, about Valtteri Bottas, Charles Leclerc, and Lando Norris. Taking the top three spots on the podium. And a wet qualifying session on Saturday meant a grid lineup that had some of the fast runners in the back, and tire strategy was wide open for everyone. And a chaotic first lap saw a double disaster for Ferrari as both of them got together in turn three. Charles Leclerc tried to make a move on the inside of Sebastian Vettel, who was already on the inside of another driver, and Leclerc hit the inside curve and was tossed into Vettel's car, and the two made serious contact, and both retired from the race. And this was the big discussion during and after the race. So Joe, where does Ferrari go from here?
Ferrari has a big task on hand. This is clearly not the start they want. Last week was really good to see Leclerc get second place. That was a big surprise win. It was something else when the team principal said we were on track for 11th, 12th place finish. Clearly, they don't have the speed, and then they didn't even get to complete the first lap. They have to have the drivers there talking. I know Charles Leclerc said he takes full responsibility for what happened, but the big thing is the two of them, they really got to work out and work towards helping the team out because it's very likely, especially we know the season went from 8 races to 10 races now. There's still a little bit of time, but they're definitely behind the ball.
Yeah, that's definitely something that you don't want to see, taking out your teammate. I'm sure Ferrari has already had some discussions with both Charles Leclerc and Sebastian Vettel. I'm sure that there's going to be more discussions moving forward because this has not been an ideal start to the season for Ferrari at all. And rule number one is, don't wreck your teammate. And unfortunately, that happened today, and it also happened, I believe, in the Brazilian Grand Prix last year. Last year, if I'm correct, and moving forward, all Sebastian Vettel and Charles Leclerc, they're gonna have to get their acts together, and you can't be having days like that. And Ferrari is already behind now. It seems like it seems to qualify down into midfield and all of that. And when you're already behind, they've taken steps backward in comparison to last year, and they're just getting, and incidents like today, you're just giving the team more problems that they don't need at all. Yeah, in today's race, it went without a full course caution, and Lewis Hamilton put on a clinic. What a spectacular drive! That Mercedes was unstoppable, and Max Verstappen finished second, but lost out in strategy by pitting and trying to gain the lead through the undercut, but no success. And instead of Valtteri Bottas for second place. For new fans out there, Joe, can you explain how Bottas capitalized on Max Verstappen's early pit stop?
Yeah, so Max Verstappen was in second place. He wanted to try to get the lead. So he did the undercut. The undercut move essentially allows a driver to pit and use the new fresh tires to try to gain as much ground as they can on the lead car. This didn't work for Max because Lewis Hamilton was so far ahead, had such a great pace. So we saw Verstappen come out behind Lewis Hamilton, and ahead of both of them was Bottas, who hadn't stopped yet. Bottas stayed out longer enough So that way, 10 laps later, when he did make his pit stop, his tires were 10 laps fresher than Max Verstappen. So this set up Max to essentially lose second place no matter what he did. If he stayed out, Bottas was going to catch him and pass him with the fresher tires, especially as the tires drop off. His tires did drop off. Bottas did claim second place to essentially steal second place away from Max Verstappen, but that was just a case where the undercut didn't really get to work. But what we saw Bottas, what some would call an overcut, did work out in his favor.
Yeah. And actually, when I was asking before I asked you that question, I misspoke. And actually, Bottas, like you said, finished second, and Verstappen finished third. So my fault there. And once Bottas got around Verstappen, the top three stayed the same to the end, with Hamilton earning the win and Bottas second, and holding the points lead by 6, and Max, third, his first points finish of the year. Alex Albon got fourth comfortably, but the battle for fifth was absolutely amazing. Yeah, and starting the last lap, Sergio Perez had fifth, and Lando Norris was in seventh place, and Perez had front wing damage. And in the two racing points, Lando Norris, Daniel Ricciardo battling for fifth, and Lando got around to take fifth. Perez, Stroll, and Ricciardo all come across the line side by side, and the rest of the top 10 finishers.
Yeah, so here is a look at the top 10 finishers. Lewis Hamilton, Valtteri Bottas, Max Verstappen, of course, rounded out the top 3. Alex Albon, Lando Norris, Sergio Perez, followed by Lance Stroll, Daniel Ricciardo, Carlos Sainz, and Daniel Kvyat. Surprise in top 10 considering the starting lineup that we had at the beginning of the race.
Yeah, Mercedes is no doubt the team to beat. Do you think Red Bull can catch up to them?
It's going to be really something else to see if Red Bull could catch up to them. We saw today they didn't have the pace at all. So without having that pace, they have to climb up the hill. We did see Max Verstappen. He's a really good driver. He made the best of what he could. He was way out ahead compared to his teammate Alex Albon. With Alex Albon, it seems like that team, they really have to capitalize on a lot more strategy to try to catch up to Mercedes. So I think Red Bull has a potential to catch up. It's going to take a lot of work though, and a little bit of luck as well, and strategy.
Yeah, we talked about the battle between Ferrari, McLaren, and Racing Point this year. Ferrari was out, but Renault was in the battle. Do you think McLaren is still the leader of this battle?
I do. It's essentially something where I do see McLaren. They're looking really good. Lando Norris, fourth place in time trials qualifying yesterday. He had that grid penalty, ninth place. I thought, okay, he's going to be out of it. That last lap, he really showed how talented he is, putting the McLaren where it was, while his teammate Carlos Sainz did fall back, a little bit of victim when it comes to poor strategy and just didn't have a good race. So definitely, especially out of those, I see McLaren as still one of the favorites.
Yeah, now we're going to take a look at the current Formula One point standings. You see Valtteri Bottas, is at the top at 43. Lewis Hamilton, 6 behind. Lando Norris, impressive third. You have Charles Leclerc, Sergio Perez round out the top 5. Then you have Max Verstappen down at 6. Carlos Sainz, 7. Alex Albon, 8. Pierre Gasly, 9th. And Lance Stroll in 10th. It's going to be interesting to see how the Formula One Championship shapes up this year. And next week, the Formula One teams will all travel to Budapest for the Hungarian Grand Prix, and we will preview that race on the next Grid Live pre-race show.
We will be previewing that race. It's going to be a really good one. 3 weeks in a row for Formula One. But now let's switch gears and get into the NTT IndyCar Series. Their first doubleheader of the year at Road America. The first time Road America hosted a doubleheader as well. We saw Josef Newgarden. He took the pole for Saturday's race. And the first race Saturday, it was pretty uneventful race until we started getting to the pit stops. That's when we saw Newgarden stall in the pits, lost valuable time, including the lead. That's where we saw Will Power essentially inherit the lead. One of the big things, Scott Dixon, he started 9th and was coming up through the field, as was rookie Alex Palou, who started 15th. Now, during the next round of pit stops, Will Power's team had an issue where they didn't let the rear jack down in time. Will Power actually spun his tires. As that was going on, from behind him, Scott Dixon got out of the pits, beat him out, and took the lead. Kobe, Penske's pit crew this weekend, they weren't Penske perfect as we expect from them. What's your take on everything going on with Penske?
Well, first is really surprising to see Team Penske make a mistake like that. And as you mentioned, that wasn't Penske perfect at all. Because when everybody hears the two words Team Penske, you think nothing but perfection, success, and winning. At every angle, whether it's on the track, off the track, in the pits, in the garage, or whatever, engineer and all of that. And and for them to make that mistake, it was really surprising. For some reason, it seems like Team Penske has started off the 2020 season a little bit behind, and Chip Ganassi Racing is currently firing on all cylinders.
Chip Ganassi is definitely firing all cylinders. We saw essentially Scott Dixon hold on to the lead. That mistake by Penske in the pits was the winning move for Scott Dixon. So taking a look at the top 10 results from Saturday's race, Scott Dixon, Will Power, and Alex Palou, the rookie, who started way back in 15th, third place, he was super excited. Ryan Hunter-Reay, the best finish for Andretti Autosport this year, considering all the troubles they've had already. Colton Herta, Santino Ferrucci, Graham Rahal round out your top 7. Patricia O'Ward, only 2 Chevrolets in the top 10. Of course, Will Power in second was the other one. Then Takuma Sato and Marcus Ericsson in his Honda essentially made it round off the top 10. Now, one of the things, Saturday was Scott Dixon's 49th win. 3 for 3, pulling away with the championship so far. How can somebody beat Scott Dixon for this championship?
They're gonna need Scott Dixon to have some bad luck like he did today in race 2. I think that's honestly gonna be the only way for somebody to catch Scott Dixon in the championship. He's gonna have to have some bad luck, have some misfortunes and all of that, or a mechanical failure with the car. Yeah, so I don't at the moment I don't really see anybody who could be a major threat for Scott Dixon in the championship fight. Maybe his teammate Felix Rosenquist, because Felix was very strong today at Road America, and it's going to be interesting to see if Scott Dixon is going to continue to go out there and dominate, or if he might have a few blunders here and there, and somebody might be able to capitalize and catch up.
Yeah, it seems like to catch up to Scott Dixon, they need Scott Dixon to have bad luck. Scott is looking really good. Everybody else, we have not seen the same consistency level that we anticipate, especially when you're trying to compete against Scott Dixon. With that said, though, we did have Sunday's race. Same racetrack, Rev Group Grand Prix, the second race. A chaotic first lap. We saw Ryan Hunter-Reay essentially got hit from behind by Will Powers entering turn 1. This sent him through the gravel trap into the tire wall. He was done for the day. Just as the yellow had came out, Will Power missed the apex of the corner in which he hit Graham Rahal. Graham Rahal got a little bit in the grass, started getting swervy, slight contact with Felix Rosenquist, and then hit the edge of a concrete wall. Very vicious hit, especially hitting a abrupt edge of the concrete wall where the safety crews did come out. Now, unlike NASCAR, IndyCar tracks, they don't own them, and at the same time, the IndyCar tracks are essentially meeting standards that they feel is best for the racing to be safe. It's not like NASCAR, where NASCAR owns the tracks or has SMI, which SMI focuses on meeting the same NASCAR safety standards at a racetrack. Was this surprising to you, Kobe, to see such a concrete wall at that location? And is this something Road America should address?
Yeah. I mean, Joe, it's the year 2020, and it's completely unacceptable that we had a concrete wall like that at that angle. I mean, what are the chances, of someone going up and hitting that wall? I mean, it's probably pretty slim, but Graham Rahal found that wall today, and I'm very glad to see that he got out of that car unhurt, because under the right circumstances, that could have been something that could have ended very badly. And I feel like that's something that Road America should really address, especially if they want to have a NASCAR Cup Series race here in the future.
Definitely, you bring up a good point with the NXR Cup Series. If they're going to race there next year, they're going to have to look at addressing especially those concrete walls on that back stretch. Even though they are at an angle where supposedly it's not that big of an impact, Graham Rahal today, that was a vicious hit that he took. hopefully we'll see some improvements, but definitely that is something where we're going to be looking at, and of course, Road America. So one of the big things, of course, once the caution came out, the second caution came out for Will Power, essentially losing it, going through a rev group signage even. Once the green flag came out, again, we saw Alex Palou, he was gaining positions. He passed Colton Herta during green flag pit stops. He was looking really good. But interestingly enough, Will Power, despite the penalty being sent back to the pack because of his contact with Ryan Hunter-Reay and Graham Ray Hall, and then spinning, he took the lead using strategy. He and Santino Ferrucci, both on fuel conservation, pitted on lap 6, and were just cycling, climbing up the field. This is where we also saw Felix Rosenqvist start to come in as he overtook Palou as well. Felix was catching up, but then one slow stop while battling Patricia O'Ward cost him valuable track position. He was essentially 7.5 seconds behind the leader, O'Ward. Now, Scott Dixon, we mentioned we need a mistake from him for anybody to catch up to him. Pits road, stalls the car. Once he got going, he again stalled. Essentially, the anti-stall kept him going. Had it not got him going, he would have had to wait for the crew to run out, pull him back to the pits, and get him going again. So he was very lucky with that. Now, at this point, it looked like O'Ward was cruising to victory. But Connor Daly, who got in a crash yesterday involved with O'Ward, came out of the pit stops late for a tires change, was behind O'Ward, and was just putting pressure on him. Finally, he was able to get around, but already we saw at this point, Rosenqvist was striking distance of the leader. Is there a way O'Ward could have handled the Connor Daly situation better in today's race?
Well, honestly, I think it's one of those situations where it is what it is. I understand, and I'm saying in yesterday's race, Connor Daly went all had a massive shunt and hurt his shoulder, and Pato O'Ward was the one that made contact with him and put him off into a tire wall. And I'm sure and better than me, Joe, that drivers have they have long memories, and they remember things, and especially with something so fresh. With the Connor Daly incident, I'm sure Pato O'Ward was probably thinking like, "Oh gosh, there's Connor ahead of me." And when I was watching, I was thinking, is Connor going to hold Pato up and allow Felix Rosenqvist to catch him? But it seemed like everything was fair for the most part, and Felix seemed like he was just going to catch Pato regardless of what happened, and it was just one of those. It was just one of those things I saw today. It was just, it is what it is. There's nothing we can do to go back and change it.
Yeah, it's reminded me a little bit about 2001 when Robbie Gordon had the lead at Sonoma. Kevin Harvick came out of the pits late, kept holding Kevin Harvick behind, didn't let him go. Essentially, those two got together and cost Robbie Gordon that win. It was just sort of reminded me of that, in a situation I feel had O'Ward let Connor Daly go by a little earlier, a lot less trouble. But of course, you have Connor Daly ahead of him still. So if Rosenqvist, who was looking really good on those black tires, was to catch up, he would still have the same battle, possibly the same result. Now, Rosenqvist did get around O'Ward with a beautiful move. The two then went wheel to wheel. At one point, slight contact between the two, but Felix Rosenqvist went on to earn his first career NTT IndyCar Series win and fourth win in a row for Chip Ganassi Racing. As you can see, there's Felix Rosenqvist, Patricia O'Ward, and Alexander Rossi. Way in the back, came all the way to third place in his Honda. Marcus Ericsson, Colton Herta round out your top 5. Then Santino Ferrucci, Alex Palou, who lost traction essentially to recharge when away. Takuma Sato, Josef Newgarden, and Charlie Kimball for AJ Floyd Racing round out the top 10. Now, we mentioned it seems that Ganassi Racing is firing on all cylinders right now. Does Chip Ganassi essentially have the upper hand on Tim Penske?
Well, it certainly seems this way. Chip Ganassi Racing has currently swept the season. With Scott Dixon winning at Texas, the Indy Grand Prix yesterday at Road America, and then Felix Rosenqvist won today. And Marcus Ericsson finished fourth, and Marcus Ericsson also had a great finish yesterday. It would not surprise me if we see Marcus Ericsson get his first IndyCar win. It seems like in his second season, Ericsson is finally getting comfortable driving an IndyCar, and it would not surprise me if Chip Ganassi is able to put all three of his drivers in victory lane. So far, it seems like Chip Ganassi Racing is currently the team to beat in the NTT IndyCar series.
Definitely they're the team to beat. 4 wins in a row. Marcus Ericsson looking really good. Had Scott Dixon not had that mishap in the pits, he could have easily been up there as well. A big valiant effort though for Alexander Rossi today. After his troubles in the first 3 events, here he is, third place. Is Alexander Rossi back?
Well, I'll say that Alexander Rossi's drive today proves exactly what he and that team is capable of. They're capable of going out there fighting for wins, podiums, championships, and all of that. Although it seems like a championship is like very unlikely at this point, but Alexander Rossi, I'm sure they'll be able to salvage a good rest of the season if they can if they can have performances like he had today at Road America.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see Scott Dixon, Alexander Rossi, if he could really start to catch up. It's still a long way to go, but looks like he could possibly get there, especially if Dixon has some bad luck up ahead. Definitely next weekend, it's going to be the short track, Iowa Speedway. So it's going to be really interesting to see if this is a good opportunity to everyone to catch up to Scott Dixon and Chip Ganassi Racing.
Be careful, Joe. Don't call Iowa Speedway a short tracker. Matt Weaver will come hunting for you. Yeah, and Scott Dixon finished that set of the top 10 in today's race. Meaning he has unfortunately lost the lead in the grid ranking. Scott McLaughlin reclaimed the lead to make it the 41st week. He has led the ranking and taking a look at the top 10, we have Scott McLaughlin on top, and Valtteri Bottas from Formula One behind Scott Dixon third. Yeah, and then Lewis Hamilton fourth, Jamie Whincup fifth, Kevin Harvick from NASCAR sixth, Sebastian Ogier from World Rallycross seventh, Denny Hamlin eighth, Antonio Felix da Costa ninth, and ran out of the top 10. We have Elfin Evans, and next week MotoGP is finally getting back into action. And Joe, how is the grid ranking looking in comparison to the previous season?
The grid ranking overall is starting to look a little bit normal. We got 6 out of the 7 series. Of course, MotoGP, they still have to do 2 races to get scored in. So when they get their first race done next weekend, they're just halfway through. The big thing that's a little different though is the points total, especially for the Supercar series. Right now, the Supercar series, they would have a lot more races completed, so that point total will look a lot more different, especially if we didn't see such a dominant effort by Scott McLaughlin. It's still very early for the Supercar series, so I think it's definitely going to just start as everything starts going. Once we get the MotoGP season going, the Supercar series start doing more races. It's going to start to normalize, and then we'll really see who's a dominant person is and who's a real contender for the world championship.
Do you think Scott McLaughlin is still the favorite for the grid ranking world championship?
I do see him as still one of the favorites. He still needs to go out and just beat the field week after week. He can't afford bad races. We saw what happened with Scott Dixon today. He came in winning 3 in a row, but finishing outside the top 10, which is a big no-no in the grid ranking. He dropped down to third. Part of the reason why he dropped down to third is because Valtteri Bottas, second place today, last week first, just about as perfect of a score as you could get, except 2 wins in a row. So it's going to be very competitive, the grid ranking, especially early on.
Yeah, and be sure to follow the grid ranking on Twitter at grid ranking.
So switching from the grid ranking, we'll go to the final race of the weekend that's in the grid ranking, NASCAR, the Quaker State 400. Race started around the same time the end of the IndyCar race. Overall, it's a pretty tame race. We saw the first stage, only caution was the competition caution, and we saw Aric Almirola up front trying to go for essentially a win, but also 6 top 5s in a row. He was able to stay up in the lead for most of the day, and overall was very quiet compared to what we saw in the Xfinity series, where there was multiple cautions. It was just single car cautions we've seen for a spin, but no wall contact. And that leads us essentially to the final stage where John Hunter Nemechek hit the wall, creating a late caution. When we went green, again we went right away back to caution when Jimmy Johnson was turned by Brad Keselowski exiting a trioval. In this case, what happened? Jimmy Johnson, Keselowski was right behind him. Keselowski had a better run, tried to go into inside towards the apron, and Jimmy Johnson came. The two made contact together. Quick yellow. Now Ryan Blaney was the leader at this point. Second place with Martin Truex Jr. With 13 laps to go, we get a restart, and that's when we see Kevin Harvick, who had restarted third, push 3 wide, entering turn 1, and take the lead. Kobe, can you tell us about that move by Kevin Harvick?
Well, it was definitely a bold move by Kevin Harvick, to take him 3 wide on the restart. And honestly, when it's getting that late in the race, you need to go big and just go out there and just send it. And that's exactly what Kevin Harvick did there. I'm sure a lot of other people would have made the exact same move.
Yeah, the exact same move. We've seen that, especially with this package. If you have a run, you got to try to go very low or try to go to the very high side and get around him because those restarts, those first couple laps are the times where you can move. Once we got going again, because of another caution, this time from Matt Kenseth, we were going essentially, we saw Kevin Harvick, Martin Truex Jr., but then this restart, we saw Cole Custer, Ryan Blaney, they were contending. It didn't seem like Kevin Harvick had that great of a restart. So coming out of turn 4 wide, you had Ryan Blaney in the very bottom, Kevin Harvick, Martin Truex Jr., Cole Custer on the outside. He had a huge push from the 21 of Matthew Benedetto. Exiting the tribal, that's when we saw Ryan Blaney hit a big bump. That pushed him hard into Kevin Harvick. Kevin Harvick, tire smoke. He was out of it. A little bit of contact with Martin Truex. That's all it seemed to took because next thing you know, Cole Custer was in the lead. And guess what? Cole Custer won the race. Kobe, is this the biggest surprise winner since Justin Haley last year at Daytona?
Well, Joe, I'll tell you, if I hadn't watched the race for myself and somebody told me that General Cole Custer had won this race, I would have been like, no way, no way. I'm be honest, Cole Custer wasn't the rookie that I expect to find victory lane first in 2020 if we did have a rookie winner. But yeah, I was definitely surprised that Cole Custer won this race. And Cole Custer, he's had a lot of success when he ran in trucks and Xfinity, and now moving up to Cup. I understand that the move to the Cup was criticized by a lot of fans because they felt like Daniel Suarez wasn't given enough time with the organization. And definitely today, Cole Custer shows why he got the promotion from Xfinity to Cup, and it was definitely a big surprise. I would have never in a million years guessed that Cole Custer would win this race in Kentucky.
Yeah, I know we were talking the pre-race show of all the past winners here. They all are past champions. Matt Kenseth, Truex, Kyle Busch, Kurt Busch, and of course Brad Keselowski. He is the first rookie to win at Kentucky Speedway. A lot of people thought Kevin Harvick had this one. This would make it where he would have won at every track except the Roval, and eventually, of course, except the Daytona Road Course, but essentially every facility. That didn't happen. Cole Custer, what a move. Got the win, and now he's in the playoffs. Amazing. And the All Star race on Wednesday. So take a look at the top 10 finishers. Cole Custer, Martin Truex Jr., round out the top two. Matthew DiBenedetto, third place. Great run for the Wood brothers. They're looking really good this year. We're saying the top 12. Kevin Harvick, Kurt Busch, Ryan Blaney. Then we have Christopher Bell, Eric Almirola. His streak of consecutive top fives end, but he's still in the top 10. Brad Keselowski and Tyler Reddick round out your top 10. Now, one big surprise, Joe Gibbs Racing. They were really nowhere in the front today. What are your thoughts of Joe Gibbs Racing performance today?
Yeah, it was definitely really shocking that Joe Gibbs Racing wasn't really anywhere today. Besides Martin Truex Jr., who seemed to have the best car out of the group, and it seemed like Truex didn't really have any major issues today. But I think as an entire organization, Joe Gibbs Racing needs to go back to the drawing board and figure out what's going on with their program.
Yeah, it seems like they got to figure out something, and especially here we are now. Cole Custer's win makes him the ninth different winner. So we only got a few races left. Kyle Busch, still no win. Hardly any playoff points at all compared to last year. And then today, hit the wall, just having trouble. How concerned should the defending champion, the 18 team, be?
I definitely think it's time for Kyle Busch to in his number 18 team to become a little concerned because they definitely aren't showing the same form that they've shown in the past, and it's hard to believe that we're already heading towards the middle of July and Kyle Busch still hasn't won a race this year, and I would be really concerned for their organization if we get to the month of August and they still haven't won. It just seems like something's just been off with that team, that they haven't had the same speed that we know that they are all capable of showing.
Yeah, they seem to be really off. Something's going on with the 18 team. They're not what they were last year. Now, definitely a friendly reminder to everyone. Wednesday, a special grid tonight, pre-race program. We're going to preview the All-Star race since it's that day, as well as the IndyCar race weekend since they start Friday at Iowa, and of course, Formula One at Hungary. So be sure to tune in. Please visit Grid Network on Twitter, Facebook, and of course, gridranking.com to learn more about the grid.
Yeah, we want to thank you for watching the Grid Live post race show, and we encourage you to subscribe and click the bell icon for future notifications of new programming and breaking news. However, we do want to end with heavy news coming from Langley Speedway. 64-year-old Sean Beluza unfortunately passed away after a frightening crash last night. He's won 11 track championships and won 16 out of 17 races last year, and he's the winningest driver at Langley Speedway. So he's forever a racer, forever a champion, forever a father. And our thoughts go out to Sean's family, friends, and everyone at Langley Speedway. Thank you.